let's get into it. I'm assuming if you were not at the show by now, you have watched all the videos or, like me, pay-per-viewed it and watched it live. There's a ton of coverage on the internet already, as you can imagine. Very well done tonight as a total production. I didn't know what to expect with the 10-minute early start time. And, of course, they had your two typical obnoxious, DJ type people hosting this thing. The female came across extremely annoying, especially post-concert, the way she was force-feeding questions and then interrupting and moving on to the next question before, in this case, Gene or Tommy really got to answer them. But overall, really cool package, worth every penny. I was going to do a real long podcast, but I think I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. So we got more to talk about in the future, but great show. Set list, nothing really stands out as being much different. Obviously, Making Love's been at it since I saw them at the beginning of this tour. But I mean, it is what it is. I personally, I'd throw out Deuce and War Machine and add like Unholy and Rock and Roll Hell. I mean, it just better song. I guess the first thing I want to point out is, and I mentioned in the prior video to the show that I have some comments that are good and bad. And one I was going back and forth with someone who just can't let go of this backtracking, lip syncing bullshit. And let me tell you, from what I saw tonight, I don't even think there was a backtrack. This was fabulous. I mean, absolutely fabulous. As far as the lesser rumors that were out there that Kiss doesn't even play live, you go watch, and this happened throughout the night quite a bit. I noticed immediately Detroit Rock City when they're getting ready to do the dual guitar part. Before Paul's playing his part, he's getting his hands situated stuff. You can hear the fret noise, and you can hear the fret noise several times tonight. You can hear the microphone bumping up against their faces, Paul included. I watched with an eagle eye to Paul's mouth on that microphone, both on the live cut and on the big screen behind. This was not anything that people think it is. This was incredible. Paul sounded great. I noticed he finally took a page out of like Rob Halford's book and several others who have had to learn to sing their songs differently because their voice can't do certain things. Usually Paul would try to force things, trying to get as close to the way he'd sing it in the past. And tonight on several songs, he completely changed the way he sang them, kept him at a low register. It was fabulous. He did an unbelievable job at I Was Made for Loving You, one of the toughest songs, by taking it back to its roots. Instead of making it a heavy song, he kept it with the light, airy sounding voice. He even hit the falsettos. I mean, he did an amazing job. I think he'd be best served, or would have been best served all these years since he's been having vocal problems, to tone down the screaming, singing while he's talking in between songs. I think that really plays a toll on his voice. I mean, you can address the crowd with enthusiasm without straining your voice like he does. But all in all, fabulous show. Eric Singer's version of Beth on this night in particular was the most beautiful version I've ever heard him do. And from that point on, you could really see the emotions in the band's face. There were several times where it looked like Gene was ready to bawl. Tommy even broke up, and they asked him about that after the show, and he had mentioned seeing Sebastian Bach out in the audience bawling, and he said just seeing everybody else teared up, it got to him. And credit to him for being such a stand-up dude. He said, "This ain't about me. This is Paul and Gene's night. It's their legacy." Gene's post-interview was very touching, especially when they brought up his mother and his daughter came out. You could see how choked up he was. I would have really liked to see Paul and Eric post show. Um, I don't know if they were dealing with emotions, especially Paul, or maybe they just needed to get to an interview somewhere else in the building or something. But hopefully, some kind of box set comes out and we get a lot of this backstage stuff. That's the fun stuff for me. I really enjoy seeing stuff like that. And other than that, back to the show, I did notice, and I don't know if this was the acoustics in Madison Square Garden or something off with the timing from the camera feed to the video. But the pyros seemed to be a half step late, and they would, I mean, the pyro sound would be a half step late. It was almost like a boom boom when the drum would hit. Supposedly, you'd think in time with the pyro noise, it was off. So I don't know if that was a reverb thing or what. It struck me kind of odd. But other than that, I mean, they sounded great. They looked great. High energy show. Smiles across the board until, like I said, it got emotional. The fans were amazing. Give it up to New York City. Usually, American fans all across the country tend to be a bit lazy and take it for granted after the intro songs for a lot of these bands. They don't really keep that enthusiasm up versus if you go see something that's in Japan or Rio or something like that, where it's just they just love this stuff and appreciate it. But these New York City fans were on their feet the entire time. Cell phones were lit the entire time. It was just amazing. And something else I wanted to touch on here. I had mentioned in my pre-concert video that I've gotten a lot of positive and negative comments about my takes on Kiss, and a recurring theme with a couple people seems to be they're really hung up on this comparison that Ace doesn't use backtracks and Paul does. To where my response is always has been and always will be, when you're a lead singer singing with power and screams and you sing 80% of the songs for 2 hours a night for 50 years versus a guy who sings monotone 1 to 2 songs a night for 10 of his notable years and then moves on to Frehley's Comet and has Todd Howarth doing the bulk of the singing, and then goes out and does his club tours for a few months a year, all while singing monotone with no power, no screams. Not only is the way he sings much easier to do, but maintaining his voice for all these years, hell of a lot easier to do. Comparing the fact that Paul may need some help to Ace, and that meaning Ace is a better performer, singer, is absolutely ludicrous. You're in denial. But I tell you, no backtracking tonight. Paul did fabulous given his age, given the throat surgery, given everything else. Gene was solid. I did notice Gene starting to struggle on a lot of the choruses. His main songs were fine, but trying to do the backup choruses, his voice was really raspy. I tell you who's the MVP of this fucking band and has been for the last 20 years is Eric Singer. I love Peter Criss. I love his voice. It's incredible as a lead singer. I love his raspy voice and some of his screaming fills. Eric Carr was a solid backup singer, but Eric Carr, I tell you what, this guy's voice, and not for a lead singer, but he's like the Michael Anthony of Kiss. You can hear his voice in every goddamn chorus. He is such a good match for this band and these songs. Always loved Eric. Obviously, he's an incredible drummer, but his voice is vastly underrated. And like I said, his version of Beth was killer. I absolutely love when he does Black Diamond. I love them MTV Unplugged when he did Nothing to Lose. I think that should be a staple, or should have been. Now it's over, so it doesn't matter. But another thing I wanted to mention off topic of the show itself, kind of ties into the comment section. I got a comment from a watcher, listener, asking me if I had seen Peter's comments leading up to this show. And I said, indeed, I did, and I was going to touch on it. And I'm going to compare and contrast here how a former member should handle it and how another former member should not handle it. So both asked shortly before this. They asked Peter about this, end of the road shows. It's hard to believe it's over. I'm truly touched by it. There were so many glorious years, and the four of us created some really fun tunes and have the most incredible fan base a band could ever have. We are truly fortunate to have our fans all these years. Thank you, Kiss Army, for the life that you gave me and the life that you gave all of us in Kiss. He also went on to say, well, he's disappointed that him and Ace weren't asked. Now, again, depends who you listen to participate for a couple of songs. He said that he's in a good place in his life and very happy and very proud of what the four founding fathers of Kiss created. It's truly a blessing. There's not much more a musician or artist could ask for when God blessed us with so much. And now that the end is here, to quote our dear late manager, Bill Aucoin, onward and upward. All right. He's still talking like he's part of Kiss. He's still thanking the fans. He's still touched that this band is doing what it's doing today. He's proud to have been a part of it. Appreciative, thankful. Ace Frehley, same time frame, same questions. Well, to be honest, I really don't believe they're ending their touring career. How many times have they said they were going to retire? How many times have half a dozen groups said they were going to retire and still come back? Personally, I don't know what their plans are. Not a big deal here, because Kiss has been guilty of it themselves, and pretty much every other band has. So, little skepticism. Fair enough. Okay, so asked about if the coming to the end has any emotions for him. Not at all. I'm so happy I'm not involved. Last night, I watched a video of Kiss's Indianapolis show from current tour, from front to back on YouTube. They had 10 comments and maybe a couple thousand views, but compared to what I'm doing right now, you can't hold a candle to it. Now, first of all, for somebody who's moved on, why is he sitting down watching a current Kiss show from a couple weeks ago front to back? Second of all, when he's asked about if he has any emotions about this, he says, I'm glad I'm not involved, or I'm happy I'm not involved. Does someone who's happy he's not involved spend the last 6 months bitching about how they're not asked and how they should be a part of this and that and the other? He added, it's probably better they retire, and hopefully I won't have to listen to them put me down anymore. Do you see the contrast here? One, truly grateful to his fans and the band for the life that he has had and the opportunity he had. The other, putting the band down, immediately pointing out now they can't put me down anymore. They're not going to retire. I'm happy I'm not involved with it. And what they're doing can't hold a candle to what I'm doing. Wow. Unless he meant they had 10 comments and maybe a couple thousand views. That to me right there sounds like, they only had 10 comments and a couple thousand views, right? Is that how you're taking it? And then it goes on to say, but compared to what I'm doing right now, you can't hold a candle to it. Is he saying, but compared to my pissant career, I guess I can't hold a candle to even 10 comments and a couple thousand views? I don't think so. I think he's saying, compared to what I'm doing, they're nothing. Either way, he's clearly not over this. It clearly vindicates everything I've ever been saying. And again, I love Ace Frehley. I love what he did. I love his history. I love his character. I love his guitar playing. I love the songs he wrote in Kiss. and for these comments. I don't like the way he pity party handles himself. I don't like the way he can't have a positive conversation about Kiss and just ignore the fact that Paul and G may or may not have said something about him recently. The mudslinging, the constant obsession of him having to compare what he's doing to what Kiss is doing. Versus, I appreciate all the fans. I'm so happy for those guys. I'm touched, and we've been so blessed. Who's the better person here? Who's the guy you'd want to hang out with more? Who's the positive influence you'd want in your life? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I love Ace, but get over it. Get over it. Move on. Prove yourself if that's what you think you need to do. But Paul don't care. So the people in the comments, Paul's jealous, but no, he's not. No, he's not. Could he have been jealous of the success of Beth in the 70s? Sure. Could he have been jealous that Ace's solo album got more attention than his? Sure. This shit is 40 years ago, people. Do you really think Paul gets up in the morning trying to outdo Ace Frehley? Abso-fucking-lutely not. The guy's on top of the world. He's got a family. He's got a career. He's got a painting career. He's got a rhythm and blues band career. He's got fucking so many things on top of the biggest band in the world. I hardly think he's spending a second of his day worried about what Ace Frehley's doing. So, whatever. What's a 3-hour podcast without a little bitch session, I guess. But, yeah, awesome. Awesome pay-per-view. Awesome show. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything else you guys want to expand on, I'm so looking forward to, and I haven't been a box set buyer. I almost bought the Creatures because that's my favorite album, but you know, the books and stuff that come with it, it's fun to look through once. Then it just gets packed away. The demos, I've never been a big demo guy because the goddamn sound quality is so bad. I mean, I get it's interesting, and there are a couple that, you know, have been a fun listen, but I go back to like Sword in the Stone, one of the biggest mistakes the band ever made by not putting that on an album. And I love the song so goddamn much, and it's great by Bonfire on the Shocker soundtrack. But the sound quality is fucking, it's not like you can put it on a mix, right? I guess that's where I'm going with demos. I just, again, interesting once, and then they just go to a shelf. So I don't usually pay a lot of money for something I'm going to look at once and put in storage or up on display. But this one I think I will, because I'm anxious to see all of the, I'm hoping, I'll wait. I'm not going to pre-order anything. I'll wait to make sure it's going to have, you know, behind the scenes stuff. Having the show will be great for history, but I want the backstage stuff for this show. I want the emotions. I want the rubbing elbows with fellow people in the industry, stuff like that. I'm hoping there's all kinds of that stuff on it. But all in all, like I said, an awesome show. Highly recommend you watch it if you haven't, in whichever way. I'm sure there'll be a restream or a download or something, but just a good time. And it's nice to see Kiss as humans and not such arrogant, cocky, you know, rock stars. When the emotions welled up, it was very touching, very genuine, and just overall a great vibe to see. You got to see pre-show Evan and Nick and Sophie being interviewed, and Nick and Sophie were back with Gene. Well, Gene was having a hard time with it after the show. I mean, it was just, or Sophie was, but just a great watch. It really was a great watch. If you can get past the obnoxious fucking hosts of this thing, it was a great watch. So again, I'd hope this would be longer, but when it's just one person talking and no back and forth, once you say what you say, you've said it. I appreciate all you guys watching. I hope you all had a great viewing party, however you viewed it. If you haven't, I encourage you to do it. You won't regret it. And until the next time I put something out, as always, thanks for watching.